My question before you mentioned, you told us about this mechanism actually that some of the stories are sold to the magazines, and then it's the magazines that break them out first, and then from there, actually the national outlets, they can report on them as well. I was going to ask you, how do you see the role of alternative media? And also, when I say alternative media, I mean, like, let's say alternative media like social networks as well, because we have seen that, for example, in other parts of the world, when it's difficult to break a story within or in the, let's say, major news outlets, so people go on SNS and they talk about it, they create a movement there. And so how do you see the role of the alternative media, including the SNS here in Japan?
That's a tricky question.
Okay, sorry for that.
No. There's a lot of kind of unique characteristics of how social media is used in Japan that make how you describe the use of social media in terms of news in the West makes it a little bit different here. And one of the key features, I think, is that the majority of social media use in Japan is done, I don't want to say necessarily anonymously, but people don't often post with their actual names, where we're more likely to do that in the West. So when it comes to like credibility issues, there's a lot of sort of pulling away from the use of social media as sort of legitimate news sources, because it's a little bit harder to trace or to verify things here. But that being said, obviously social media has changed the media landscape. It's opened up leaking of information, if you want to call it leaking, but dissemination of otherwise difficult to publish content. So who's actually doing the dissemination? That's a bit hard to trace here. But again, with the threats of actual jail time, if you're the reporter who is either publishing through a newspaper or posting something on a social media account that is considered under very sketchy descriptions in the State Secrecy Act to be a state secret or confidential information, you're risking a 5-year jail term. So that's one of the reasons why Japanese press freedom is ranked now at 71. Because that basically eliminates anyone in the journalistic fields from wanting to risk their career and their livelihood and risking jail time. But in terms of other people who may have information, I think that fear is so pounded into the heads of journalists here that it's preventing a lot of information from coming out. I think there's a lot of people in the field here have a lot more information that just never sees the light of day, and that's really too bad. I think that a democracy like Japan would thrive even more with a more free press. But there are people who are outside of the field of journalism who don't necessarily know about these laws or this information, that are a bit more free without that pressure to actually initiate public discourse on certain topics. Whether that actually gets very far in this environment, I think there's a lack of public interest overall in a lot of sort of political and social issues here. So kind of that shikataganai type of approach to, another scandal. We're used to these already. So it's good to have another weapon to use in terms of the use of social media, but it hasn't been that big breakthrough, I think, that people would have anticipated it to be, at least not yet. I'm sure that, there'll be changes at some point.